If you've got particular questions in relation to anything that I've raised this morning, obviously keep them to the Q&A session after the break. You have to forgive me for wearing my glasses, but I can't see the slides here. So, what are we dealing with then? Well, we're dealing with the Agency Workers Regulations 2010. These are due to come into force on the 1st of October 2011. So that's a key date for you, either as agency providers or end users. Certain aspects of the regulations are supported by guidance. The Department of Industry, or BIS, have actually produced the guidance now. That was available from May this year. So I've just noticed something I need to get rid of. So, in relation to the UK, these are applicable only to Great Britain, so they don't include Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland have their own separate regulations and guidance that will be relevant. The most important thing for you to be aware of is that agency workers' existing rights are not affected by the introduction of the regulation. So there are certain things that agency workers have as workers per se that don't change as a result of these regulations. How did and why did these regulations come into force? Well, essentially they came into force because there was a European directive back in 2008 which said essentially that we have to do something to sort of put agency workers on an equal footing with permanent employees. So this is very much European driven, and it is about trying to harmonise the rights of agency workers and permanent employees. So again, just to recap, the regulations are not retrospective, and so those agency workers already on assignment on the 1st of October 2011 will start to accrue their 12-week qualifying period from that date. Now, obviously, if you can recall what I said earlier on, there are two parts to these regulations. So there are some rights that they acquire immediately on the 1st of October, but the 12-week qualifying period will accrue after they've been in assignment from the 1st of October for a period of 12 weeks. So what is a temporary work agency? Well, that's defined under the regulations, and this is about supplying individuals to work temporarily for and under the supervision and direction of hirers, or paying or receiving or forwarding payment for the services of individuals. I know that sounds a bit complicated, but I mean, if you look at it this way, if I'm providing Cargill to a third party, then to work under somebody else's control, that is essentially what is a temporary work agency. So there are several definitions that you will need to get your head around in relation to these regulations. The directive, which is what gives effect to these regulations, sets out what it considers to be an agency worker. Obviously, what we're dealing with is under the regulations here, and it says that an agency worker is defined as someone who is supplied by a temporary work agency to work temporarily for and under the supervision and direction of the hirer. The other elements to that definition are below, and you know, words such as this here, and it does actually have quite a significant meaning, because you can only be a temporary worker so far as these regulations are concerned if you actually got all three aspects of these elements to it. So they've got to have a contract with the temporary work agency, sorry, there's a bit of a typo there, and which is either a contract of employment with the agency, or they have any other contract who performs work and services personally for the agency. So essentially, if they don't have a contract with the agencies themselves, then arguably they fall outside of this definition.